Hello, I'm James Joyce. Want to come in and listen to me?
Yeah.
Frail as I am, I managed to come over here today from Zurich to talk to you. And I'm glad to see you. Now, the last time I was in Dublin was 1912. And the reason why I came over at that time is I had a book that I wanted to have published. And the book is Dubliners, the Book of Stories. Now, what Dubliners does is it sets out in a number of stories the whole atmosphere of Dublin at the time, which was restrictive, highly religious, nationalistic, and repressive. So my book was describing that. And in 1904, I sent 3 stories off to Grant Richards in England. And I said, these are wonderful. This is a new watershed in Irish literature. And we'd be delighted to publish them. And just send us the rest of the stories and we'll have a big check going in the post to you. So I sent the rest of the stories to them from Trieste. And I waited, and I waited, and I heard nothing. And what actually happened was, they had the books, all typeset, all ready to go. And the printer, one of the printers said, I'm not prepared to issue that book because I might be sued for pornography. Now, the law was so contrary in those days that it wasn't just the publisher and the writer who could be sued if a pornographic material was issued. The poor old printer, just setting the type, he could also be sued. So Grant Richards couldn't get the book out. So I took it from them and I sent it to a publisher in Dublin. No problems here. Would there be any problems here? No, couldn't be. How could there be? So the publisher in Dublin printed the book to the very last page. And then the publisher said to himself, this book names nearly every building in Dublin, and it names an awful lot of people, and it all sounds very true. So what if it's true, what is it? It's probably libelous. So he wouldn't issue the book. So I came over from Trieste to Dublin to see the publisher, and this was his answer: he couldn't publish it. So on my way back to Trieste, I wrote this mad poem, which I'm going to say for you now. Angry poem. And I had it printed in Trieste, and I sent the print back to Dublin to be distributed freely. Ladies and gents, you are here assembled to hear why earth and heaven trembled because of the black and sinister arts of an Irish writer in foreign parts. He sent me a book 10 years ago. I read it 100 times or so, backwards and forwards, down and up, through both ends of a telescope. I printed it all to the very last word, but by the mercy of the Lord, the darkness of my mind was rent, and I saw the writer's foul intent. But I owe a duty to Ireland. I held her honour in my hand. The lovely land that always sent her writers and artists to banishment, and in a spirit of Irish fun, betrayed her own leaders one by one. 'Twas Irish humour, wet and dry, from quicklime into Parnell's eye. 'Tis Irish brains that save from doom the leaky barge of the Bishop of Rome, for everyone knows the Pope can't belch without the consent of Billy Welch. O Ireland, my first and only love, where Christ and Caesar are hand in glove. O lovely land where the shamrock grows. Allow me, ladies, to blow my nose. To show for strictures I don't care a button, I printed the poems of Mountainy Mutton and the play he wrote. You've read it, I'm sure, where they talk of bastard, and booger, and whore, and a play on the word and holy Paul, and some woman's legs that I can't recall, written by Moore, a genuine gent that lives on his properties 1%. I printed mystical books in dozens, I printed the table book of cousins, though asking your pardon as for the verse, 'twould give you heartburn on your arse. I printed folklore from north and south by Gregory of the Golden Mouth. I printed poets, sad, silly and solemn. I printed Patrick what you call him. I printed the great John Millicent Sing, who soars above on an angel's wing in the play-by shift that he pinched a swag from Monsell's manager's travelling bag. But I draw the line at that bloody fellow that was over here dressed in Austrian yellow, spouting Italian by the hour to O'Leary Curtis and John Wise Power, and writing of Dublin, dirty and dear, in a manner no Blackamoor printer could bear. Shite and onions! Do you think I'll print the name of the Wellington Monument? Sydney Parade, Sandymount Tram, Downs' Cake Shop and Williams' Dam? I'm damned if I do. I'm damned by blazes. Talk about the Irish names of places. It's a wonder to me upon my soul he forgot to mention Curly's Hole. No, ladies, my press shall have no share in so gross a libel on stepmother Erin. I pity the poor. That's why I took a red-headed Scotchman to keep my book. Poor Sister Scotland, her doom is fell, she cannot find any more Stuarts to sell. My conscience is fine as Chinese silk, my heart is as soft as buttermilk. Colm can tell you I made a rebate of £100 on the estimate I gave him for his Irish Review. I love my country, by herrings I do. I wish you could see what tears I weep when I think of the emigrant train and ship. That's why I publish far and wide my quite illegible railway guide. In the porch of my printing institute, the poor and deserving prostitute plays every night at catch as catch can with her tight-breeched British artilleryman, and the foreigner learns the gift of the gab from the drunken draggle-tailed Dublin drab. Who was it said, resist not evil, I'll burn the book, so help me devil. I'll sing a psalm as I watch it burn, and the ashes I'll keep in a one-handled urn. I'll penance do with farts and groans, kneeling upon my marrow bones. This very next Lent I will unbear my penitent buttocks to the air, and sobbing beside my printed press, my awful sin I will confess. My Irish foreman from Bannockburn shall dip his right hand in the urn and sign criss-cross with reverend thumb, memento homo upon my bum. Well, that year when I was in Dublin, 1912, I also visited Galway, visited Molly, Nora Barnacle's friends or relations in Galway, and then I went out to Rahul to the cemetery where Michael Feeney is buried. Michael Feeney, Molly's first lover. She was about 12 at the time, and Michael Feeney was a young man, and he came and he stood at the end of the garden and he sang up to her at the window. I mean, unfortunately it was raining at the time, as it usually is in Rahul in Galway, soft gentle rain, and he got pneumonia and he died. Well, that's her story anyway. Perhaps there was other reasons for him to die besides catching his deadly cold in the rain. But I went to the graveyard in Rahul, and there I put this poem into Laura's mouth. Now, in this poem, when I'm reading it, you might be confused about what love means. There are two loves in this poem. One love is the love that's in the ground, and the other love is me, to whom she is speaking. Okay? What do you expect to find in Rahun?
Rain.
Rain. Rain on Rahun falls softly, softly falling where my dark lover lies. Sad is his voice that calls me, sadly calling at grey moonrise. Love, hear thou how soft, how sad his voice is ever calling, ever unanswered and the dark rain falling then as now. Dark too our hearts, O love, shall lie and cold, as his sad heart has lain under the moon-grey nettles, the black mould, and the muttering rain. My most recent poem is called, or our book is called Finnegan's Wake. Perhaps you haven't read it yet. Now, Finnegan's Wake, you've probably heard Finnegan Wakes. Do you hear that one? That's a song. It's a song about a famous man who lived in Dublin. Do you want to come in? Yeah, certainly. Come on. Tim Finnegan, he was very famous, but he only became famous after he died and rose from the dead. He was a bricklayer, and he liked to take a tipple in the morning before he went out to work. And one day he fell off his ladder and he broke his skull. And they wrapped him up in a sheet and they brought him home and they waked him. And during the middle of the wake, whiskey spattered over his face, and bedad he rose from the dead. He jumped up saying, "What's going on? Thundering Jesus, do you think I'm dead?" Now the poor thing about him was, come on in, there's 2 seats here to talk. The thing about it is he was never really right in the head after that. He was never Tim Finnegan again. He was Julius Caesar, he was Napoleon, and he was Wellington, he was Charles Stuart Parnell. So a great flow of talk came from his mouth, and it was somewhat nonsense talk. But you see, he opened up the whole realm of the subconscious to his voice. Now, in my first book, Dubliners describes Dublin and the restrictive atmosphere of Dublin that I grew up in. And the portrait of the artist as a young man describes how I rebelled against that and looked to have a heroic life. The third book, Ulysses, describes how my heroic life evaporated into an ordinary come day, go day life of a parent with a family. And then Finnegan's Wake, Ulysses describes the stream of consciousness. That's a stream of thoughts that come into our heads as we go about our day, but they're conscious thoughts. Now Finnegan's Wake goes deeper than that. It goes behind the conscious thought, right down into the big well of the subconscious. And the whole of creation, which is a whole mess of different impulses. And in Finnegan's Wake, one of the themes of Finnegan's Wake is the river Annalivia. And of course, all the other thousands of rivers that are the river of life, that flow from the start to a finish. They come to an end, but they're not finished because they're still flowing and they're forever flowing. And this is the last few words of my book, Finnegan's Wake, which I presume you haven't read already, so you will appreciate. It is Annalivia coming down to the sea. I am passing out, oh bitter ending. I'll slip away before they're up. They'll never see, nor know, nor miss me. And it's old and old, it's sad and old, it's sad and weary. I go back to you, my cold father. My cold, mad father, my cold, mad, fiery father, till the near sight of the mere size of him, the moils and moils of it moan and moaning, makes me sea-silt, salt-sick, and I rush boldly into your arms. I see them rising. Save me from those terrible prongs. 2 more, 1, 2 more men's more, so Ave Lavel. My leaves have drifted from me, all, but one clings still. I'll bear it on me, to remind me of lift, so soft this morning hours. Yes, carry me along, Taddy, like you done through the Typhoon. If I see him bearing down on me, now under white spread wings like he'd come from archangels, I sink, I'd die down over his feet, humbly dumbly, only to worship. Yes, tid, there swear. First, we passed through grass, be hushed the bush to wish a goal. Goals, far calls, coming far, end here. Us then, thin again. Take, push softly, memormore me, till thou's end the lips, the keys to, given, away alone, the last, alone, alone. And of course, the first chapter is a continuation of the last chapter. So that brings you back to the first chapter of The Thing Goes On. Thank you very much.